Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Herbert. I'm the Managing Director of the Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University, and really excited to be part of the Hack a House project this year. Let me say a little bit about the Joint Center. We are a research center, been around for 60 years, and our mission is to advance understanding of housing issues and to inform industry advocacy and policy. And part of that mission is also to educate and train and inspire the next generation of housing leaders. So we're particularly excited to be part of the Hack a House as we see so many young people who are engaging with this critically important problem. I would direct you to our website, jchs.harvard.edu, with chock-a-block full of information I think will helpful for you as you frame and advance your hack. I also just want to put a plug in that I will be available on Friday evening for sessions with students. So please do connect, and if there's things I've said today that are helpful, I'm happy to follow through with those some more. What I'd like to do in my little video here is just do two things. One is to highlight a high-level framing of the housing affordability challenge to help you think about how your hack fits in, and then also provide some thoughts that might help you create a specific focus for your hack. So fundamentally, the housing affordability challenge we face as a country is a result of the fact that housing costs have been growing faster than incomes for decades. And so what do we have to do to help bend the housing cost curves? And so this is where the hack comes in. You either can be building more efficiently to bring down the construction costs, you can design more efficiently to make better use of space. Think beyond the traditional concept of a single house for people with bedrooms and kitchens and bathrooms. How else can we configure housing to be cheaper? Use land more efficiently. The land is in many places the biggest component of housing costs. And so if we can use land more efficiently, we can bend that cost curve. And then last, we could also leverage low cost financing as a way to bring down the costs. The challenges of housing affordability are spread across the income spectrum. And so as you think about your hack, you might be thinking about ways to address the fact that homelessness is on the rise, the fact that renters are spending excessive shares of their income on housing, or the fact that too many families and individuals who want to own are simply unable to. So I would suggest as you design your hack, the first thing you should do is pick a segment of the housing challenge to focus on. And as you do that, so whether it's homelessness or rental affordability or homeownership, I would also urge you to think about a specific demographic group as a way to really frame how your solution is going to address the need of that group. For example, a lot of people are surprised to learn that 45% of renters who spend too much of their money on housing are single persons. So we think about simple housing solutions that people have, either very small efficient spaces or shared spaces, as a way to really address the problem for that group. But you might think about families, you might think about the elderly. So think about specifically who you want to help as part of your hack, and that'll give you a focus. And the other thing I would suggest is think about a particular place, because the housing problems in Salt Lake City are different than they are in Cambridge, Massachusetts, are different than they are in Cleveland. And so where are you thinking about your problem as well? One of the other issues I know that you have to address in your hack is either to pull in some way in which your hack addresses the challenges posed by the COVID pandemic or by the increasing attention to racial injustice in this country. Let me give you a couple of little food for thought on those topics. In terms of COVID, in many respects, I would say is that the pandemic has really exacerbated existing challenges in the system in terms of people who are economically vulnerable being dislocated more from their jobs and their income and therefore experiencing more significant housing problems. But two aspects you might think about. One is, what are the specific ways in which the pandemic has revealed a real shortcoming in our system? And one I would point to is the fact that one thing we do not do well as a country is provide short-term assistance to help people weather short-term crises in their life. You lose your job for a few months, someone gets sick, or the like. So how do we provide rental assistance that's not going to be ongoing and therefore very costly, but short-term, keep people stably housed? Are there ways we can think about whether it's a financing hack or a regulatory hack that can help do that? The other thing I would say in terms of COVID is it's going to fundamentally change where people work and maybe untether people from living near where they work. And if that's the case, what does that mean in terms of ways in which we can address the affordability problem? How do we think about housing differently in a world in which not everybody has to be in their physical work location? Now, in terms of racial injustice, there's two things I would point out for you. One to think about is the fact that one of the biggest ways in which there are differences in racial outcomes in housing markets has to do with racial segregation, which is deeply entwined with economic segregation. So as you think about your hack, think about ways in which the housing that you're going to provide may open up more opportunities for people of color to live in higher opportunity areas, to promote more racial and economic integration. And the second area I think I would urge you to consider is issues that address the really jaw-dropping gap in homeownership rates between blacks and whites and Latinos and whites. Black homeownership rates are nearly 31 percentage points lower than whites. That's an enormous inequity and one that we really need to pay attention to as a society. So how could your hack address that? Now, bear in mind as you do that, what are the barriers to homeownership for people of color? Big one is the down payment, lack of savings in their own or their families for paying for down payment or closing costs. How can you close that wealth gap? But there's also informational barriers, access to credit barriers, and access to an affordable supply of homes. So in terms of racial justice issues, I certainly would urge you to consider opportunities to expand access to homeownership. All right, I put a bunch of things on the table. Really been happy to talk through any of these ideas or ways you can explore them during my office hours on Friday night of the Hack House. Just want to reiterate that we're really excited to see you putting your talents and your energies to help think about this knotty and critically important challenge we face as a country. Good luck, and I really look forward to seeing what you come up with.